Got it on video, Todd?
Yeah, hello, my name is Persuasive. I go to Lee County High School, dual enrollment public speaking. This is me, this is my ID card. This is my preparation outline, my first page, my second page, and then my works cited, and then this is my speech outline. My topic today is about basketball and why I believe it is the best sport of all time. Basketball is great in many ways. Basketball is great in many ways. Some people believe football is the best sport or baseball. Some people may even say soccer. But within the realm of America, at least, basketball to me is the best. When you think of infamy, when you think of the best and most athletic representations of sports in media nowadays, you think of basketball usually. You have athletic freaks like LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, Derrick Rose before he got injured, Anthony Edwards, and the list goes on. There's so many great players that make the game itself just so fun. And even when you go lower, you think about college and then even AAU and high school, there's electrifying players that make the game of basketball fun to watch and enjoy and even play. Basketball itself is a very strategic game. It's a 5-player sport where 5 people are on opposite sides and they play to usually around 100 points if we're talking NBA, 80 to 60, maybe even 70 in college, and 50 or so for high school. The game is played usually within 4 quarters, and it is in most times the most fun and electrifying way to represent athleticism and how it's played. The time the greats that paved the way. LeBron James, like I said earlier, Michael Jordan, Karl Malone, even for a power forward, Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, all these greats paved the way in different ways. For many, Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. For others, LeBron James, and so on. They have allowed people over time to represent what basketball is from a different perspective. Basketball is a very heavily Black-dominated sport, so it's a good way to represent Black people as a whole, which is good for, I guess, the Black community. And because of that, you get to see representation in all different fronts. Across the world, basketball is shown. ESPN, mass media outlets, they all show basketball in different fronts and different outlets. And because of that, you get to see basketball from different scopes and realms across the world. Why this is important and helpful for why basketball to me is the greatest is because representation matters. Seeing people that look like you makes you want to do something, makes you want to try something new all across the world. And sometimes just seeing someone that's like you makes you want to go out and do something, you know? And the game has evolved over time. Basketball is 130 years old. Over this 130-year period, basketball has evolved from a simple ball into a basket, or a ball into a basket with no hole at the end, to a ball in a basket with a hole, 2 goals, going back and forth across a court over time. Now courts are padded. Now courts have state-of-the-art facilities for rehabilitation and so on. Over time, you've seen injuries and the way people go about playing basketball become more safe and helpful as a whole. The medium of basketball and sports medicine has also progressed over time, in part because of how evolved the game of basketball is compared to its contemporaries. Those contemporaries usually being football and baseball for this example. Over time, you usually see more white players gravitating to baseball and more white players gravitating to football. But as a whole, the NBA is one of the more diverse sports as a whole. If you go to Africa, you're going to see someone want to play basketball. If you go to China, you're going to want to see someone playing basketball. Over time, if you look at all the different leagues across the world, basketball dominates the most countries as a whole. There's the CBA, Lithuania, the NBL, Spanish leagues, Euro leagues. When you go look at football, for example, there's a German league, there's the CFL, there's a Mexican league, and a couple other across the world, but none of them produce the magnitude of phenomenal players that make the game of basketball over time progress like how basketball does. And though baseball has Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Japan, Korea, and a few other countries besides America, there's no sport that's dominated more by people across the country and across the world than basketball. Athletes that changed the perception of the game would be Allen Iverson, Stephon Marbury, Michael Jordan, and LeBron James. Everybody in the 2000s wanted to be like Allen Iverson. Everybody in the 2000s wanted Starberries from Stephon Marbury. Everybody wears Jordans. I have Jordans on my feet. Most people across this world will know what the Jumpman looks like. And of course, LeBron James. As a whole, these people have changed the perception of how basketball is looked at, not just on the court, but off the court too. Everyone across the world knows what LeBron James looks like, knows what he's known for. And even if you don't watch basketball, you've heard of basketball, you've picked up a basketball, and you can tell just by looking at someone play that it's basketball. That as a whole is important when you think about what basketball has done over time. Everybody has wanted tattoos and wanted to look cool. The do-rag was popularized just by Allen Iverson as a whole. People, even to this day, that have just joined the NBA from this past draft can tell you that they were influenced to some degree because of the things that Allen Iverson did and even what Dennis Rodman did, because they revolutionized what it is to be a professional athlete and have a personality. And unlike many sports, basketball has detailed that to the highest extent. The importance of this as a whole and why it's better than other sports is solely based on the idea of what it is to be an athlete, what it is to be a professional, what it is to have professionalism and be an athlete to the magnitude of what basketball is. Forget just the NBA, forget just the G League, forget just college, forget just high school. As a whole, you learn sportsmanship, what it is to be a good athlete, what it is to be a good man or woman, and teamwork, leadership. All these integral skills, these integral life skills to be specific, are all learned because of basketball. And in part because you learn what it is to be a part of a system. And you learn how to overcome certain adversities. You learn to understand your weaknesses and how your teammates can help you elevate your own game. The reason why basketball is such a highlight as a whole in sports is because no matter how good you are, it's a team sport nonetheless. Unlike in baseball, where you can be the best player and still lose, like for the Angels with Shohei Ohtani, or you can be the best player like Lamar Jackson for the Ravens and still not be a contending team because you don't have the proper components on your team. You don't have the proper linebacker. You don't have the proper center. You don't have the proper lineman. If you are a basketball player, you have to work as a team completely. There is no one person being successful in doing everything. For basketball, if you don't have that and you don't understand how to be implemented in the system, no matter how good you are, you're going to lose. You're not going to do everything. It's impossible. People have tried it and it's failed. And that's why basketball is so important. To conclude this notion that basketball is the greatest sport of all time, we must remember that there's no sport as infamous, as successful, and as notorious as basketball is. And that's why I believe basketball is the greatest sport of all time.